or something. Okay. All right.
Let's do that. That way we can hear both of us.
Kitty's in bed, I guess, right?
Yep. Yeah. All right. So hopefully now I can do this. I'm going to pause that, but hopefully I can still monitor your comments if I can.
Okay. All right.
Not sure I can. My mic's kind of in the way. And since I'm paused, I'm not sure if it's actually going to roll the comments or not. Yeah, we'll do that. I'll just play it. All right. Sounds good. Well, greetings.
This is Life in Linux 15. If I got my Spanish right, 15 is 15, I think. So anyway, welcome.
Yes. No, Kitty is here, but I run the Kitty cam shows up when we're dual streaming because I have two webcams, and that's why people that are asking on my end.
Got it.
Yes.
No Kitty topics tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about, I guess, the Linux newbie topics. Linux distros. What is a Linux distro? What are DEs? Well, DEs are defensive ends in football. Oh, that's a different thing. Never mind. No,
I don't know all about the football
okay.
stuff.
Desktop environments, of course. So if you are a beginner or a newbie, wondered DEs or distros, what's it all about? Hey, you're in luck. Imagine that for tonight. So for Life in Linux 15, DEs versus distros. It's not really a contest, but anyway, you guys know what we mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for tonight, I will talk a wee bit about distro, because that's going to be my topic for the Windows User Guide to Linux number 3 sometime this week.
Oh.
Cool. It'll be a repeat, but that's all right.
Good.
And Tom will talk about DEs.
Yeah, particularly I just did the Deepin video today, so specifically about your desktop environment.
Cool.
So.
Well, Deepin has a nice-looking desktop environment, actually. I don't use it personally.
Yeah.
First of all, welcome everybody in the chat, of course.
Absolutely.
All right, so I guess I'll get started. Distro. Distro is another name, a word for distribution. It's basically, distro or distribution is another name for an open source version of an operating system, sometimes called Linux-based system, Linux operating system. It is a version. Now this Thursday, I think, we'll have a bunch of Ubuntu's out. Ubuntu, Kubuntu, Lubuntu 18.10. Linux distribution or Ubuntu Linux distribution, Lubuntu, Xubuntu, version 18.10. 2018 is the year, 10 is the month of October, number 10. So this Thursday, as an example, we will have, if you want to try them all, Ubuntu distribution version 18.10 or Ubuntu distro or Linux distro called Ubuntu. I don't want to overblow this, but distro distribution is a Linux-based version of an operating system based off the Linux kernel. Mm-hmm. That's why sometimes we'll say Linux distro. And sometimes, to keep it short, I'll say Linux OS. I've been corrected before, by the way. Linux is not an OS, it's a kernel. Fine, so I'll say Linux-based operating system.
You got to say GNU Linux.
GNU Linux, right.
So for the new folks here, where if you start talking about running Linux, you'll get some, and frankly, it is kind of my opinion, I might think Toss's too, that the Linux snobs will be in your comments, it's GNU Linux. So the history behind that terminology is GNU. GNU is that was made popular by Richard Stallman, and he started the GNU Foundation, which basically what it means is that Linux, as Toss just said, Linux is the kernel that runs it. It's the under the hood type of stuff. And the GNU part means that it's effectively a graphical interface on top of the Linux kernel. So GNU Linux is technically correct, but when you're in this world and you're dealing with Linux, and you're doing tutorials on Linux, to sit here and say GNU Linux every single time, it's meaningless, because we're talking about running Linux on a desktop environment. GNU Linux is simply implied. So.
Well, it would be like me saying, today we're going to talk about Microsoft Windows. We all know what Windows is. I'm not going to say Microsoft Windows 7 or Microsoft Windows. I'm just going to say Windows 10.
Yep.
Or Ubuntu Mate 1804. It's not a sign of disrespect. It's just a matter of keeping the flow of the conversation going. That's all that is. But in a nutshell, distro, distribution, Linux-based system, Linux version, Ubuntu version 18.04. Now, sometimes you'll have what are called LTS versions, long-term support, updates up to 5 years. You'll have point releases. Distribution Ubuntu 18.04.1 that was released this summer, I do believe. No matter what Linux version comes out, that's all encompassing under the term distro or distribution. So if you are a newbie, that's probably one of the easiest things to learn. Linux-based distribution, Ubuntu version number, Lubuntu, it could be Manjaro, it could be anything. But that's what a distribution is, shortened to distro. There you go. All right, so the next topic is what? DEs, desktop environments.
DEs. So the desktop environment, or DE, is effectively the thing that you see sitting on top. It's generally is going to, I mean, some distros are going to control the Windows Manager. Sometimes that's up to the desktop environment. So it really depends on which system you're using. Usually it's going to be the desktop environment. So if you're running KDE, likely you're running with Dolphin. If you're running Cinnamon, you are running Nemo. It really doesn't like you to running anything else. Ubuntu defaults to Nautilus, and Mate uses, is it Kaja, I think? Is that the default?
Kaja, C-A-J-A, Kaja, Kaja. Kaka, not Kaka.
Yeah, it's not Kaka. It's Kaja. I think it's Kaja, but I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
So that's kind of the thing that you get. You know, you get that. So effectively, when you're looking at a computer, you can easily tell from looking at the setup generally what is the desktop environment, but what distro you're running is you may or may not be able to tell right off the top. And of course, if you watch the video I just did earlier today on Manjaro versus Deepin, both running the Deepin OS, really you'd have a hard time spotting which one is which, except for the fact that the Manjaro always had Manjaro on the desktop image. I could have messed with somebody throwing Manjaro on that desktop image, but running the Deepin OS, and you'd have to look for other context clues. And that's really the difference is where does the desktop end and the distribution begin? And it has a lot to do with how you're controlling it, how your setup is. Oftentimes, but not always, what is your package manager? So Manjaro pretty much uses the same package manager throughout, but other distributions like Ubuntu, you might get different package managers depending on the version. So like Kubuntu, you're generally going to get Discovery because that comes built in with KDE. Versus a lot of the other ones, if the desktop does not have its own package manager, then it's just going to come with whatever the default is. In Ubuntu, it's just the Ubuntu software. So,
right. You can install multiple DEs, by the way. One time I had Unity, Desktop, Kubuntu, and Lubuntu. It got interesting because you have a mishmash of file managers and software.
Yeah.
You know what? If you have a play machine, it's fun to play, but that gets a bit confusing. See, I think of a desktop environment, I think of a house as the core system, okay? You want to change the looks or the landscaping. And if you add too much of this, too many windows, too many blinds, too different color paint, it doesn't really look right. The same thing when installing multiple DEs. It can be done. That's the beauty of Linux, is multiple options. But generally speaking, stick with the one that you like with me, Ubuntu Mate. And if you're curious, maybe try one more desktop environment, but that's it. I wouldn't go any farther. The problem is you install multiple DEs, things can break, things may not match, so be careful. But it is possible to have multiple graphical shells, multiple GUIs, you know, graphical user interfaces. You can make it look really strange and funky. You may run into problems. With my core Ubuntu Mate, I got everything working. Switch has his Linux Mint Cinnamon, everything. I don't think you have multiple desktops, do you?
Not on this computer.
Right. Because things can break.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't. But it can be done.
On my testing system, so like I do still have my Linux Mint build around here somewhere, which has it has Cinnamon and it has Budgie on it.
Okay.
And I have a Debian build around here, which is KDE, Cinnamon, and Mate.
Okay.
So I have all of those.
I do have Linux Mint Cinnamon on one of my ThinkPads, That's kind of like a backup, but just Cinnamon, because if this machine crapped out or a surge or whatever, I know I can go to my ThinkPad and I know I have that particular file manager to work with, that particular GUI to work with, and not mishmash of different DEs. Again, to do this. Now, if it's like a spare machine just to play with, to goof around, if it crashes, it crashes. That's a different ball game. But for a main production machine, I personally will not install, you should not install multiple GUIs or multiple desktop environments.
There is one good argument for installing at least 2 desktop environments, and that is if one of them happens to break, which is possible, you have a second one to fall back on.
That's true.
And if you do that, make sure you pick some that are compatible. So like if you really wanted a backup on your running Cinnamon, you'd probably want to put GNOME on there, which isn't my favorite desktop environment, but the thing is that Cinnamon is built off of GNOME, and so there's going to be a lot of overlap in how they're working.
Another thing I should have mentioned about distros is sometimes, well, most of the time, I prefer Ubuntu-based, Debian-based, because that's what I'm most comfortable with. There's Manjaro, Arch-based, Arco Linux, I think, is Arch-based, so there are different bases, as it were. I'm most comfortable with Debian or Ubuntu-based, but each person is different. I prefer LTS's long-term support because that means I don't have to upgrade or update every 9 months. It just gets too tedious. Now, if it's a plain machine, like a spare machine, that's fine. But for this, I stick with LTS. I know I'm good for at least, I think 3 years of Ubuntu Mate. I can't remember. Up to 5 years. Okay. But it's years and not months. And there is a difference, you know. So if you are a newbie, I wouldn't go with Arch off the bat if it was me. Go with Ubuntu base, Ubuntu Mate, or even straight Ubuntu, as long as you have 4 gigs of RAM, but stick with an LTS so you don't find yourself changing every 9 months and learning something new. That might be too much. But that's what a distro is, and that's what a desktop environment is. And you really can't do that with Windows. You can download third-party software and change how it looks in Windows, but it may break something also. I think there was something called StarDock for Windows sometime, way back, to change how, I can't remember. But that's the beauty of Linux. You have more choices. Too much of anything isn't necessarily good, but the choices are there. If you are a beginner, I guess what we're saying is we don't recommend you download, install a bunch of desktop environments off the bat. Have a spare machine, a ThinkPad. My favorite is ThinkPad, at least 4 gigs of RAM. You can install any Linux you want. If you break it or it crashes, so what? It's a spare machine. You know, Tom likes Linux Mint, so do I. I prefer Ubuntu Mate. Try both. Dual boot if you want to with both, if it's a spare machine. But that's our advice as far as newbies go. Stick with something simple, but maybe not too simple. Ubuntu might be too light, as an example. But
I find Ubuntu is so light that it's hard to use.
We can get it running, but for a newbie, I would say probably not. Yeah. But yeah, Ubuntu Mate, Linux Mint, Cinnamon, Mate, XFCE is probably good too. Peppermint Linux. Again, those are distros, distributions with their own GUIs or desktop environments, and those are all fine in my opinion. Just make sure, if you can, have a spare machine with at least 4 gigs of RAM, and you can run Ubuntu with the GNOME environment, or GNOME shell, as it's called. But for that environment, I've tested it. You really need 4 gigs of RAM, in my opinion, to make it run smoothly. Anything less than 4 gigs, I would probably try everything else in Linux except the GNOME shell. So I don't know how else to put it. Nothing against Ubuntu with GNOME. It's just not my favorite environment for me.
Do we want to talk briefly about file systems? Because I have a comment here. Ubuntu does not write external hard drive NTFS. So NTFS is the file system for Windows. That's the Windows file system. Mac has one, and I forget what Mac's is. I think Mac might just use exFAT, I think.
I don't know.
And Linux generally by default likes ext4, and there's a few different file systems. Now, the thing is that when you are working on different, if you have a variety of different desktops, you have a variety of different computers. Like I run all operating systems in my office, just because of the different things that I have to do. I have to, and it is very important when you are running multiple different operating systems. You want all of your backup drives to run FAT partitions, exFAT, because all operating systems can read and write to FAT. But the various other ones, like if you take a Linux drive and put it in a Windows computer, it just says, hey, format, there's nothing on it. It just can't see it. Linux can see NTFS, and I believe it can read most of the time, but I have encountered cases where it can't.
Okay.
And so for me, what I end up doing is one of my backup drives from my NAS actually did things in, I forget how, I think I had it formatted as ext4, but that was a NAS backup drive, and you did not want that as a Linux file system because I might need to put that into a Windows or a Mac computer to grab files from. Yeah. So it was important to make sure that that one was formatted into FAT of some form. So FAT is indeed beautiful. Yes, Gail.
Yeah, it's a good point, but if you pick a user-friendly distro like Peppermint or Linux Mint, and you choose the automatic install option, it does all of that for you. And it's usually pretty reliable. Just stick with an LTS release, in my opinion, you should be fine. But yeah, didn't a couple of years ago, didn't Ubuntu switch from ext4 to a ZFS or something?
There's a few other options. There's a few things that you can do as other alternative file systems as well. I personally, I just like ext4.
It's reliable. It just works. Yeah. So, right. But yeah, there are different options. Now, once you get more comfortable and advanced, you can experiment. I generally stick with ext4. The way I install distros, I go into Windows, I free up some free space. I go into custom options to install. I don't recommend this for newbies off the bat, but I go to custom options. I can see my free space. I usually set, I don't know, a certain amount of gigabytes for the RAM for the swap, and then the rest, it's my is it the / to install boot and all that. That's how I do it. You can have different partitions. I just do the two, swap space and the / the boot partition, and that's it. That's how I do it. But keep in mind, if something crashes, you may have a hard time recovering all your stuff. That's why, and we forgot to mention at the start, have you backed up this evening? And backed up again. Yep. I have multiple external hard drives. I don't use special software. I just drag and drop. I keep it simple, even in Windows and even Mac, I would imagine. You don't think anything fancy. It's not. I mean, like even a kid can do. Just drag and drop. Somebody said, "Do I drag and drop the entire whole folder?" I could, but I don't do. I just pick certain things that I haven't backed up the week before, or the month before. Just that. And back then, and it you know what, it doesn't take that long today. But maybe that's a topic for another night.
And it is very important to do backups. That could be a separate topic. How do you do backups of different systems and things? So and how do you recover different systems? Like Linux is the easiest to recover. If you have that home folder backed up, it is a simple matter of installing Linux, dropping in the home folder, and you're set to go. Yes. And reinstall some of the software. But we can talk about that another time. Yeah,
there's many things you can do with Linux. If your Windows partition is, you can't log into it or whatever, it crashed, you can boot off a USB stick. Access your Windows partition to save your files. I've done that before, kind of like as a test. But that's a different topic. So yeah, Linux does give you many options, a lot more than Windows. It's up to you to decide what you want to pick and choose. I recommend Ubuntu based, Linux Mint, Ubuntu Mate, Peppermint for beginners. Once you get used to Linux, I would personally give yourself at least 6 months to a year using Linux on a daily basis. It took me personally, because I was still stuck on Windows XP when I started, a few years to really get used to it, multiple years, to where I finally stopped distro hopping and picked Ubuntu Mate. And that's my desktop environment of choice, as it were. Now, Ubuntu Mate, I can switch between desktop environments. There's, I think, 7 options. What's nice with Ubuntu Mate, but you know what? I picked the simple one that I have now. It just works. It doesn't crash. I'm not into customizations that much. You know, I just want it to work. Number one, and then tweak it here and there. You know, colors and stuff. But the number one thing, it's got to be stable. Because if it ain't stable, who cares how it looks? You know. But that being said, distro means distribution, an open source version of a Linux-based operating system. And then the DE desktop environment is your GUI, your graphical user interface. All the colors you see, all the fonts, everything you see can be called a DE, or a desktop interface. That's it. That's what a distro is in desktop environment. So
absolutely cool, very good. Want to go through some comments?
Yeah. I saw Steve's in the house, Daniel and Mr. G, Mark, Joe Johnson. Did we miss any questions or anything?
I was trying to get to the questions that hit. I probably missed some. I got Zach Smith, Q1 Fiend, Pizza, but he has to go do homework. Do your homework earlier, people.
Yes.
You students, do your homework early. Don't procrastinate.
That's
I got
right.
Mr. GFY. Greetings. Rhodesians never die. Hello there. And Mike Greer, Philip Flores, Jesse Crypto, Thomas Holt. Hello there. Tom Joyner. Hello there. Gail Babbler 49. Spin Viking, greetings. Maverick, how's it going?
Matthew makes a good point, by the way. He says he's in the process of reinstalling Windows 10 all his machines. He's been having lots of problems with Linux recently, GPUs, printers. He needs a break. Okay. It is possible, as a beginner, or not a beginner, it is possible that no matter what Linux you try, it's just not going to work the way you want it to. It does not mean that Linux sucks. That means it just didn't work for you. The number one problem with Linux today that I see is multimedia applications. Okay? Streaming, audio, video, graphics drivers. Linux has gotten much, much better than when I messed with it starting in 06. Miles better. Galaxies better. It still struggles. Printers are a hit and miss, although I've had the best luck with HP. Linux is a hit and miss. Until we have a standardized national distro, whatever that is, it's possible as a beginner you'll install this, you'll install that. Now it's possible you need to have specific software that is just not available in Linux. Completely understandable. Maybe you are an avid gamer. You love gaming. Linux isn't there yet. It just isn't. It's gotten better. Then you should stick with Windows. But there's nothing preventing you, again, having your main Windows machine and playing around with Linux on a separate machine. Okay, but it's possible. You can try all the Linux you want, and it's not for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. At least you gave it a shot, you know. There are machines you can buy with pre-installed Linux, System 76. I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah.
It's not too affordable in my opinion, but I've heard good things about the company and great support. That's an option for you. But in my opinion, until we have some kind of a national standardized Mr. and Mrs. Consumer and Computer Linux system, where graphics drivers can be standardized and multimedia apps, it's going to be a problem. And it still is today, even for me. Me and Spatry have been conversing to bring back news in Linux, and he's been having some audio issues. So
yeah. And
that
this
can
is
happen.
funny because I've never had like any of them on any system. It's kind of funny. Other than a few little odd things here and there, but and those were like reboot the computer. It's like Windows, reboot the computer.
Yeah, I've had systems crash before with graphics drivers, but you know what? I just move on to the next one. It's all good. It's all good. I'll find something that works good enough for me. You know.
One of the main things that other than the computer that I've built, now one of my computers is Lenovo. But I pretty much buy Dells for everything else. And Dells are one of the systems that you can order a Dell computer with Linux on it.
Yes.
Out of the box. You can get them with Ubuntu. And I think that Dells are they're just really compatible with Linux. And so
I've heard good things about Dells. The one thing about buying a machine with pre-built Linux, use only that Linux distribution. Don't install different versions or different DEs. You'll probably run into problems. That machine was married perfectly
with Ubuntu, yeah.
or Ubuntu, whatever's on there.
Now,
in this case, Ubuntu, right?
If you are new to Linux and you do want to buy a machine and you don't want to use Ubuntu, you can get a hold of System76, and while they do install Pop! OS by default, you can request them to put a different Linux distribution on it. And so if you're not comfortable installing it, but you do want to get a computer with Linux, get a hold of System76. They will put a different Linux distro on there for you.
If you like Linux but don't want to mess with trying this, installing that, but you like less chance of a virus, updates are streamlined, get a Chromebook. If all you do is web-based stuff and don't do what we do, Chromebooks are excellent. $200, sometimes even less. Web-based, you can get more expensive with those, but I heard they are extremely reliable. Now that's a form of a standardized Linux, Chromebooks, Chrome OS. But that's one way to do it if you don't want to mess with everything else. But it's possible, like me and Tom, to pick a Linux distribution that you like, and it's good enough. It just works most of the time. So, Fedora ran very nice, but proprietary drivers, yeah, don't work. Yeah, that can be a problem.
They've been making a lot of positive strides in Fedora. If you haven't tried it lately, it is a lot easier to install non-free drivers than it used to be. I'm not a huge fan of Fedora personally, but that is one of the great things is they have been making more modern strides to better multimedia and non-free systems.
Well, Matthew says he still loves Linux, but he felt like he's been chasing his tail trying to solve problems. That's why I stopped distro hopping, because once I stopped chasing this tail, I install something else. I got to chase that tail.
Yeah.
Enough. I pick what works. It's wonderful. I use Linux more than Windows. Windows 10 is my backup, but I still have it as a backup just in case. Yeah. But Matthew's right. It's I don't want to spend all day or all year solving problems or issues, puzzles.
Chad, is that Matthew Moore? Yeah. Hey, Matthew Moore, how's it going?
Yeah. So, but you know what? It's free. If you have your own machine, or if you got to buy a machine, buy a thing. I love ThinkPads. $200 for a ThinkPad, 4 gigs of RAM is all you need. It plays great with Linux. It really does. I was able to live stream with Peppermint OS with less than 1 gig of RAM. Now, I don't recommend you do it, but that's the possibilities of Linux. Now, I didn't have a webcam. I got a feeling it would have froze. I just had the mic on. But you can't do that in Windows, with less than 1 gig of RAM. But their choices, you have options, give it a shot. The worst that will happen is it won't work. Well, you still have your Windows, or you still have your Mac, or whatever you were using, But you may be surprised, And I love the update process in Linux. It doesn't take as long. You usually aren't multiple reboots, maybe one reboot, and you're done in Linux.
So apparently, System 74, I guess System 76. Apparently he says none of the mainstream companies support Linux outside of the US. So Dell, HP, Asus, ASRock, etc. don't support. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
I think the sweet spot for a Mr. and Mrs. Consumer Linux computer is about probably $400, give or take a few dollars. It has to be to get them to even look at a machine next to Windows at a Best Buy or a computer store. If we can get a machine out there, and Chromebooks usually about $200, sometimes at the holidays even less, and that's why they sell, because the price is right. But they got to be told ahead of time what you can and cannot do with it. But a desktop computer, ABC Linux, whatever you want to call it, at about $400, modest specs, but tell the consumer, hey, this is the update process in this machine versus Windows. These are the apps versus Windows. It's,
Don't be like the girl. Oh, Dell sent me the computer with Ubuntu. I'm dropping out of college.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I watched that video when he just smile about some of the.
I do remember that. Yeah. But anyway, so the possibilities are endless. Yeah.
Apparently, if you dig deep enough, Lenovo sells Red Hat enterprise machines hidden very, very deep on the shop. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's from somebody in Germany, I think you said you're at. So
cool. I did not know that. Nice. Android phones. is a form of a standardized Linux system. So when people say, how can you standardize Linux? It's no, it has been standardized. So don't kid yourself. It's been done twice. People don't know it until we explain it, you know.
Do Paragon drivers work well for Linux boxes to read NTFS? I do not know. Do you have any ideas?
I do not know that, no. You can't find a computer for $400 in store because they don't stock any. Well, then there's an opportunity for it, Joe. You know. Look, with Windows, I think starting with Windows 8, more so Windows 10, people just got sick of the forced updates, the constant reboots, the telemetry, and that's another topic. People are sick of it. I got sick of it. But I use it because Windows, does it work? Absolutely. It does work. Is it secure? Yes. It ain't private. But I believe a fully updated system, not a pirated system, with all the update security patches, is secure enough in Windows. The problem is privacy. You know, the forced upgrades that people had to do from Windows 8 or 7. People are sick of it. Windows 10 isn't fun anymore. It feels bloated. The opportunity is there.
I had a comment up here where somebody had mentioned that. Yeah, so many people go from Windows 10 back to 7 and 8. Yeah, very true.
Well, Matthew says Windows sucks too. Yes, but for my reason it sucks because of the constant reboots and updates and the telemetry, not the core system. Everything works for me. Printers always work. Graphic gaming always works. Yeah. Yes, Joe Johnson. I said secure, not private. Secure against bugs and all that. Malware. I didn't say private. There is a difference.
Borgie Tan, I've not seen you before, so greetings and welcome if you are new. He says, I think, or she, I think it's a catch-22. I believe what's holding mainstream adoption is the lack of support from hardware vendors, especially for graphics cards, but they won't support it because of the fewer users.
Look, if Google's got the resources, Amazon has it, but let's say Google says, we're going to build a G desktop. We'll just call it G desktop. It's going to run Android OS.
Well, that's exactly what they're doing, though.
Yeah. A desktop that's $400, and people buy it. You think manufacturers, graphics drivers won't work anymore? NVIDIA, AMD wouldn't build their drivers specifically for that machine? Sure, they because they see an opportunity. You know, but it has to be backed by a company they know, such as Google or Amazon. They've got the resources.
Or at least, I don't know if it has to necessarily be backed by a company you know. It just has to be available to buy locally.
Okay.
That's the thing. Because, I mean, how many of these computers, like, who's heard of Acer before Acer started selling decent computers? But they came in the market point. You're exactly on the price point. They came in the market, underpriced the price points, and lo and behold, they end up getting a lot of customers because of that.
Keep it simple. You know, $400 plus tax, 30-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. Just don't break it. 30 days, try it out. Here's a little manual book or online help. You don't like it, doesn't work. No questions asked. Return it in one piece. It'll sell. Trust me, it'll sell because say they make it and people start buying it and they have more questions. Look at all the resources on YouTube. Me, Switch to Linux, many others, where they can probably ask a question that's been answered before about Linux. But you got to get the machines in people's homes. That's how you get above the 2-3% usage for Linux, and across America and the world. But they have to be able to touch it, feel it, look at it, try it. But that's my opinion. So.
Can't see anything change until mainstream companies migrate from Win-only installed toolbars, trailware, and non-standard drivers over to Linux. Yeah.
Yeah, I still got to have Windows as a backup. Yeah, until we get a standard system. Yeah, but I usually boot into Windows once a week for the updates.
Ooh, apparently Elementary OS is being released tomorrow. I will probably check that out.
Okay. I looked at the beta too. I think it looks fine. Yeah. Nice looking system, clean. It's not for me.
I thought that the beta worked better than the previous version did.
Interesting. Okay.
Linux update doesn't delete documents, as happened with Windows 10 in the last.
Yes, Linux update does delete documents, and it happened to me a few years ago. There was a release version of Ubuntu, 14.04, I can't remember, and they released it with a known bug. If you do updates, all your files, folders, documents, poof, magically gone.
Wow, that's
yes,
exciting.
they knew about it. I read it. They knew, and they released it anyway.
Well, what's the difference between Microsoft? Because Microsoft knew about it and released it anyway too.
Yeah, I think they're cousins. Ubuntu and Microsoft must have cross marriages there or something. Now, but it's cool. I had backups. I mean, I wasn't fine with it, but that's okay. Mistakes happen. So don't say it doesn't happen. Nothing is perfect. The moral of the story is back up and have you backed up again. You know.
Yeah. This is a good one. I am going to build a Threadripper work machine for editing. I'm just thinking between Mint or Ubuntu. Don't like Ubuntu Studio, but any thoughts? I will tell you that for editing stuff, I have always had better luck on multimedia stuff with Mint. That's why I like Mint so much better.
Okay.
So I would probably do that. Yeah, I mean, Ubuntu Studio it's just an Ubuntu build which comes pre-packaged with a boatload of multimedia software. So just figure out what software you need, and everything on Ubuntu Studio you can install on your computer. So just figure out what you need and what you don't. Because you probably won't need 6 video editors. You'll probably want to learn Kdenlive and stick with that if you're doing video editing stuff. And so you don't really need Ubuntu Studio. My take would be go with Mint because it generally does have the best multimedia support.
Mint's fine. I use Ubuntu. The previous Ubuntu with Unit 16.04 for me was rock solid on 2 machines. Absolutely beautiful. But it isn't officially supported anymore from Canonical, so I stopped using it. Yeah, Kdenlive is probably the premier video editor right now for Linux. It crashes the least amount of time of all of them that I've tried. So,
and when it does crash, you can generally recover the file.
It has auto recover feature. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and actually, OpenShot now, when you load up OpenShot now, it actually asks you if you want to send them data collection stuff.
Wow. Yeah, I use Kdenlive. I use Shotcut as my backup, which is also available for Windows. It's pretty solid. Not as full-featured as Kdenlive, but it's pretty solid. Shotcut is also free, so check it out. All right, I have 3 nonsense articles to wrap this up, Tom.
All right.
So I guess I'll go through, and if you have anything last, great. But let me go through these real quick. These I just got today off the Newswire. All right, news nonsense, quick one. How much would you expect to be the most expensive wine bottle ever sold? At an auction. At an auction.
I'd easily go with a few million.
Not that high. It was a Sotheby's from 1945 wine bottle, $558,000.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The person who buys that, and if he drinks it, the ultimate destination of that money is down the toilet. Literally.
Quite literally.
Quite literally. That's the funny part. So even as a multi-billionaire, you realize you just literally threw your money down, you flushed it down the toilit. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, if you buy a car or something tangible.
Well, I mean, you got to understand how collectors work, though. And I'm building a wine site right now for somebody, and it's like the most complicated website I've ever put together.
Wine,
we have regions, like portfolios in regions, and then producers within those regions, and then they produce wines with different grapes, and then there's varietals, and then there's appellations, and then there's colors, and it's just like I had to figure out how to develop a WordPress database to accumulate all this stuff together, and I actually pulled it off. It's actually the most impressive piece of software I've done.
Nice. Take a look at Joe Johnson's comment on the wine. Literally, yeah. I can't. Yeah, Family Channel, but right, Joe. That's the funny part. You literally throw it, but I guess if you're worth billions, yeah, okay, it's like $5 for him.
Find this comment.
All right.
Nice.
Let's see what else I have here. Okay, nonsense number 2 out of 3. This one I find it hard to believe, but I guess it really happened. A passenger plane. Okay. I'm laughing now, but a pilot on takeoff hits a wall, but keeps on going. Literally hits a wall, a piece of a wall, keeps on going, but it gets better. He hit a wall and a piece of a tower on takeoff. Did he get his license through Xbox or Microsoft Flight Simulator?
No. It was a Cracker Jack box. Remember Cracker Jack?
Yes, I do. But but he keeps on going. He doesn't want to turn around. So, what does the captain say? Ladies and gentlemen, that thump you heard was us knocking out a tower and a wall. It was freaking awesome. Have no fear. We will arrive at your destination in 4 hours.
Unless I actually caused the damage to the plane, in which case we'll decompress midair.
But what does the control tower say? Captain Snapperhead, if it's not too much trouble, would you mind turning your freaking plane about? There's like wires hanging out the belly. What kind of pilots? They hit a tower in the wall, people. This isn't bumper cars at at the local like you music. They hit a plane, hits a tower in the wall. Bleep it. We're going, folks. He did turn around after 2 hours later. Really? It took 2 hours to figure out. Gee, I got a hole in the plane. Think that's going to be a problem there, Captain? Anyway, do not fly Air India planes, because that's where it was.
Nice.
God.
Come again. Thank you.
Come again. Thank you for flying Thump Airlines. Ba-da-bum-bum. Nice. All right, and my last one. This is for PS4 users, PlayStation 4. They're saying that a text message hack is causing their consoles to crash, go into a loop. There's something in the message, the malicious code, that's causing this to, their systems crash. All I can say is I guess the gamers got the message, as it were. But yeah, if you are a PlayStation 4 user, you may want to go to the help forums, because if you got a text message and your thing crashes, I don't know if there's a workaround. Probably is by now. But some people have way too much time on their hands writing malicious code for PlayStation 4.
Yeah, well, that's the original spirit of hacking, was just pranks and jokes. So.
Yeah, I guess so. That's it for my news and nonsense. So
yeah, I have a few more good comments. Problem with Windows 10 is how they are slowly restricting what you can do with your own machine. Doing things like at one point in time they pulled the media codecs off the machine. You had to have an internet connection to play a WMA file. And that was reported. That was literally funny. They reported that actually from Napster. Originally reported that their solution: don't upgrade Windows.
Wow.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah, really. Well, again, Windows 10, Windows 7 was the last fun Windows operating system. Windows 7. It just there was no controversy. It just worked. You know what I mean?
That's what I still run. So, I mean, on my development side of things. So.
But again, what's happening now with Windows is a golden opportunity for Linux. Maybe next year. I keep saying maybe next year. Maybe next year. I don't know. We shall see. But in the meantime, you can use Chromebooks and your wonderful Android phones. So there you go.
I got my phone's running Lineage, and I love it.
You know what's funny? I spent $200 for this new Motorola E5 Plus, and by the way, they released the source code for this. If you want to install a custom ROM. So thank you, Motorola. But this battery in this $200 phone lasts longer than a $1,000 iPhone. So how's that for them apples? $200.
Motorola's are pretty good.
Yeah. This is my second Motorola, I think.
Does that one have a headphone jack, I hope?
Yeah, Matt, yes, and I'll prove it. It's right here.
Whoa.
Hey, headphones.
What is that thing?
Wow, it's a whole, it's broken. No, it's headphone. Oh, wait, and a front-firing speaker, which is also the head. Now, if it had another one here, it would have been great.
Does it have a notch?
No. What's up with these notches? No, look. I want all my real estate. Those type of phones I will not be buying.
I will not buy a phone with a notch. I will not buy a phone without headphone jacks. I'm in the middle right now of producing audiobooks. I'm converting all my books to audiobooks, right?
Yeah.
So I am doing my audiobook conversion and then putting them onto the phone and then going and taking a walk and listening to them. Guess what? I need to do that on headphones. Guess what else I'm not going to do? Pay more money for a pair of wireless Bluetooth headphones, which, by the way, do not work as well. They don't work as well.
I've had good luck with the ones I've bought, but you should have a standard wire as a backup.
Yeah, what I'm saying is they don't they don't have as much of a frequency. Just what's on the limitations of the Bluetooth technology, they don't have the dynamic range. But what happened, and it's kind of a funny thing as we watch, because it's a very similar trend that we've seen, where we went from CDs gave us essentially the best audio we could possibly get, down to MP3s simply for the convenience factor, which is probably an okay thing. But now it's just like, I don't know, we're giving up too many conveniences, or excuse me, we're giving up too much quality in our life for too many conveniences. I'm not sure.
I use Bluetooth in the car because it's safe. You know, phone rings, tap, boom, both hands on the wheel. If I go walking to hear some music, Bluetooth, I mean, I use a Jabra and a Jawbone, I think they're called. They're like a few years old now, super reliable. They have limitations, but if you buy a good quality Bluetooth, it does work.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, and that's what I use for mine. Of course, a pro tip: do not keep Bluetooth enabled on your phone except when you're exactly using it. So I always make sure I turn off the Bluetooth on the phone, and then I just turn it on when I need to use my Bluetooth headset.
That also will increase battery life. You can turn off Wi-Fi if you're not using it. Bluetooth, you know.
Yeah, for some reason my phone's going through the battery faster than it is, and I think it boils down to if you are speaking of it, I need to turn Bluetooth off. I think it boils down to I use Firefox Clar for the privacy factor, and I think if you don't clear the data, it stays running in the background. I think.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you clear data on that. I need to give that a try.
Arco Linux is mentioned. I haven't tried it, but you know, it's great naming a Linux distro off an oil company, Arco Oil.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a really slick OS. Ba-da-bing. And Tergos Disaster says Niels. I tried on Tergos briefly. I thought it looked nice, but I didn't do a long-term support test. No. Yeah, Joe. Windows 7 was the last good Windows. I agree.
Windows 10 or Windows 7?
Windows 7. Well, the one that was the least controversial, at least. Yeah, I would have to agree. It just worked. Yeah.
Windows 10 is now officially worse than Windows ME and Vista combined.
Yeah.
That's hard.
They kind of botched it. And there was no reason to. There really wasn't. You know. Yeah. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, they just wanted to move the whole thing into a completely different model, and that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Leaving people's files is rock solid, all right.
John says GeekStop, a Google desktop. GeekStop, you mean a name for a mass-marketed GeekStop? I don't know about GeekStop. I like G Desktop. If Google makes it, G Desktop, simple. Because G Plus is gone, was going away, right?
Yeah, I don't know though, because I think Google's getting as big of a controversy right now as Facebook is. So I don't know if Google necessarily is the best place for it or not. I don't know.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Microsoft is getting serious about saving Linux. Maybe Microsoft should do it.
I did pose that question. Would you buy a Microsoft-built Linux machine? Most of the people said no. They would not trust it, even if the price was right.
Facebook's portal, you know, nobody wants to get a Facebook portal because it's Zuckerberg.
Right. By the way, I have a poll out this month. Pick the best Linux distro for this year. It does not necessarily have to be something for beginners. A lot of Linux Mint, thumbs up, Ubuntu Mate. I'm not influencing these. I hope this is your vote. What do you think is the best one? I'm kind of curious. In the past, we had Arch as the #1 distro, completely understandable for full control, not for newbies. We've had Solus. But I'm curious to see what you guys pick this year. I got a feeling you guys will go back to basics. I could be wrong. Google, China's new BFF. Okay.
Well, you got really fuzzy.
I know. If I go back and forth, yeah.
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 I mean, I got spoiled using. I use a professional camera on my other channels now. And holy cow, that thing is so good as far as back and forth.
Yeah, no, it's a decent lot, the 920, 930. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, just if I go back and forth, it's fine for what it does. One of these days I'll pick up. I was looking at the Panasonic G7, I think it's called. I can't remember. But that's a good camera. I think it's like $600.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that might be the one that Techlore uses. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It
Now,
might
I
be.
was looking
can't
at
remember
it for the
sure.
money. It's not bad. I think it's like $600 with the lenses and all. It's not bad for what it. And I think it's 4K too, or capable. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a reason I didn't buy that. I can't remember what it is.
I mean, there's many choices up to thousands of dollars, but that one for the low price got the job done.
I think it was. I'm not sure that one had, or maybe it does. Maybe it did have all my requirements, and I was able to find a local company that had something else that matched.
Yeah,
fairly similar in price.
All right.
But what I looked for is you need to have a flip screen so you can see yourself. You need to have an external microphone jack.
Yes.
I think that
Panasonic does. It has clean HDMI out too.
And if you want a really good external microphone, this one is from Movo. It actually comes with this nice bag here. So this is effectively the same exact thing as the other one, which is, I forget what the brand is on that everyone else always uses. This is effectively the exact same thing, except it's about 6 decibels louder, which means you get a lot better, cleaner audio.
It makes a difference.
Yep, and it comes with the microphone. It does come with your dead cat, the carrying bag. This is actually the one that goes with the camera, but it also comes with one that will plug into a smartphone as well.
Welcome to the Life and Linux shopping network.
Yeah, there you go.
You have many choices. Matt, you have asked a question about mic. I think I replied to you, Matt. Yeah, I use either the Logitech stereo headset I've had for years, or this with the USB adapter, maybe $20 total. And this, I got lucky. It just works. It's lightweight. It's mono, but really, it's good enough. I prefer some like this versus an external mic, although there are great, like the one you have, Switch is fine. But there's something about this. You know, somebody says, like, I look like a call center. How may I direct your call? You know,
well, that type of mic is actually really good because, like, the way yours are, if you're going this way or that way, you stay a consistent
the
audio.
mic follows me, right?
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the disadvantage of this, but this is the Samsung Meteor mic. I really like the Samsung Meteor mic. I do have a really good professional wraparound, but of course it's battery operated, so it's effectively only my backup.
No, this is not bad. I just plug it into my USB adapter. It's lightweight. I mean, that one that I went on for 6 hours was this one. It wasn't the heavier one. But yeah, this, I got lucky. It just works. You know, I think $20 total. So yeah. We're going to wrap this up probably about 11 p.m. It's 10:52. So any final comments or questions, and then we'll wrap it up for this evening. Tom, you want to remind everybody, you have a regular schedule, right, on your channel, or do you?
Yeah, I do have a generally regular schedule. Yeah.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I'll say too. This week on Thursday, I may or may not do any live stream videos. I'm just not sure yet. I have some weird schedule on Thursday.
Okay.
But yeah, tomorrow, Monday, is generally, of course, this is obviously subject to change if something goes crazy. But Monday is Linux Top 5. Tuesday is generally anything Linux or anything else that was interesting, pre-recorded. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday is usually live. Sunday is usually pre-recorded.
Okay.
Except for when we do these, then I'll do a live late at night on a Sunday as well.
All right. I don't have a regular schedule yet. That's probably the #1 most requested feature, comment, question. I need help from you guys. Check out the links below. I also have Switch to Linux channel link below to support his channel. You can support my channel with Patreon, PayPal. I have a set schedule written down. I just can't do this full time. I can't afford to do this full time, at least not yet. But generally speaking, as far as it's set schedule, Friday nights for me, usually. And then if we do in Life and Linux, Sunday nights. But that's subject to change. Other than that, I can't make any promises yet. Those of you who contribute, thank you. But we need more supporters. But I do have a set schedule. I just can't do it yet.
Yeah, I'm a freelance developer and I work from a home office, so it's
easy for me to do.
And that's a
super advantage. Yeah, your home is your castle, as it were.
I mean, this is it. And actually, since I moved, I absolutely love this office.
Nice, awesome.
It's so much bigger than the other one I had.
Nice.
I think that my Deepin computer just crashed. Yeah, Manjaro just crashed on me. It's
Deep
the last
into
day
it.
of Manjaro.
Okay, all
I
right.
will be wiping it out since I did my video.
Okay.
Babbler asked, does anybody use F-Droid? I do.
No.
I use F-Droid, yes.
Nope. I'll mess with that. I did root my previous cell phone, the HTC One Max, in Linux. It took a while to figure it out, but I got it working. I was able to root it and delete the apps I don't want. I haven't really messed with the custom ROM yet, but I did it. It's nice because it runs faster. But that's my backup.
Are you using Google for your apps?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't let Google near my phone.
Okay.
So
No, that's
yeah,
perfectly understandable. It works. It just works. So, to each his own. Yeah.
Windows 10 deleting your files is a feature. Clean system.
I think it was Joe who said, "Don't worry because the NSA has all your files as a backup."
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the National Spatry Association? Just kidding. Just kidding. Manjaro crash? No way. Okay.
I gotta move that comment, Pizza. We don't use that language even if we're bleeping stuff out, man. All right. Okay.
Yeah, Joe Johnson is a big fan of Manjaro.
This is something to mention. Pizza loving nerd crossed 300 subs, and he's doing a giveaway of Zorin. He's giving a giveaway. I think it's the Zorin, whatever. Pizza, you're a mod, Pizza. Go ahead and put the link in. So if you check out his channel and you want to enter the giveaway for the Zorin Premium, because especially if you like Zorin, that's the one that gives you all of the extra stuff to it.
Zorin is another good one for beginners, I would say.
And so Pizza's giving away one of those. So go ahead and
yeah, we've had Pizza on the live streams before. Yeah, check it out.
Why spend money on cameras as webcams work fine? Anna, if you haven't checked the quality of my other channel lately, that's why. It's because a professional camera is... I spent $800 on it, but it is worth every penny.
And this is a topic for another night, but if you are starting off in Linux or... I'm sorry, on YouTube.
Well, if you're starting on YouTube, yeah, or video content creation.
If you have it... Most people don't, but if you do, if you can set aside $4,000 or $5,000 to get good stuff, not Hollywood stuff, do it. If you have the money, do it to future-proof yourself. Yeah, if you don't,
think you can do it for less than that.
You can, but if you want a multimedia PC, a good one, $1,500, $2,000, a good camera, $800. I mean, it adds up after a while.
Yeah,
it's not necessary. The important thing is your subject and your passion for what you like. That's number one.
And if you don't have the money, you can get started with very little. So like I have dual webcams running right now. Of course, I have the one that you guys are watching on my stream end are seeing me on the one side, and then Toss is the other side. And then what you see when you see me on Toss, of course, we're using Google Hangouts to do this, but that's actually, I just bought this camera yesterday because my Kitty Cam died.
Or the other
one.
So
this is the Logitech C615.
Okay.
Not as good as the 922, but it is full HD. It has a built-in mic, although I wouldn't use the built-in mic. I'd spend an extra couple bucks and get an external mic. But it is a full HD webcam, and it works really well with Linux.
And this works great in Windows too, by the way.
Yep.
So Logitech, as far as camera, now the built-in mics in this are awful. Great camera, that's why I use this. But again, that's probably a topic for another night. YouTube for newbies or something, we could do that. But if you have the $5,000, trust me on this, because I've been doing this for 8.5 years. You have it, spend it, you won't regret it. Yeah, a good PC that will last 5 years, $2,500. A good high-end piece. Now, I got lucky with this Lenovo. This cost me about $400. It's 7 years old, still works. It's not high-end, but it's reliable. I just can't do heavy gaming or video editing on it. But it plays good with Linux.
My current Linux Dell, like my all-purpose, multi-purpose laptop, I paid $300 for it. It is an i5 5th generation. I had 6 gigs of RAM. I upgraded it to 8. Works beautifully. It's had the same OS on it for a long time.
Yeah, this has only 6 gigs. I can do some game. It's not technically a multimedia PC. I can get it running to like video edit. I'm trying to keep my video editing as short as possible. I had to edit an 8-minute video. I had lots going on. It took like over 20 minutes on this machine, but it's reliable. I mean, for now. But if you have the money, I think 4 or 5 grand should be plenty. Now, you won't buy a high-end 4K camera. I've seen those run as high as 50,000, I think, which is crazy. But you don't need that. You don't need that.
Yeah.
But that's a topic for another night.
Yeah.
So
I have a $3 super chat from Pizza. Pizza. Buy some coffee. All right, man. I'll do that. Thank you, Pizza.
Awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Google are just anti-consumer and as bad as Intel, Microsoft, Apple. Yeah. Ubuntu $0 down with $1 for shipping for the DVD. Call now. All right. Some of those DSLRs have modded open source firmware. Yeah, I don't know what mine has. Mine's a Canon SL2. So.
okay.
Okay.
I think I'm all caught up on my end with comments
Yeah,
and
I'm
questions. So
getting there. I'm about there. So.
all right, let's make this the last call and we'll wrap it up for this Life in Linux 15.
All right. Do open source developers ever patent their code? Thank you, GPL licenses. I mean, there's differences. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but no Manjaro crashed it. Yeah, that was. I've had it reboot on me a couple times.
You know, I've only installed one Arch-based system over the years. That was Manjaro. 2 summers ago was a challenge, a full install. I knew I was in trouble off the bat when I couldn't play music CDs. I knew I was I was able to fix it, but I was fixing things over, and I just got tired of it.
Funny you say that, because yesterday, was it yesterday, a couple days ago, a friend who gives me a CD, he's like, I want you to listen to this. So I put it in the computer. I had four different media players to figure out something that would play it. Cody does it all, you know, just use Cody. But actually, one of my systems, and I couldn't get it to work in VLC, which was really funny.
Yeah.
So I did Rhythmbox, and it wouldn't work in Rhythmbox. I installed Banshee, but I'm like, why am I installing Banshee? I already have Kodi on here.
Yeah.
So I ran it with Kodi, and I haven't tried it in Banshee since then.
Again,
so.
Multimedia and Linux, a hit and miss.
Well, this is the first time I've encountered that. I'll just blame it on Manjaro or Deepin or Arch.
There we go.
Because I've never had that problem on Linux Mint.
Michael says you don't flash the lights for last call. Okay. How's that?
Yeah.
Flashing.
There you go.
There we go.
Why is Manjaro so popular? I have a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory about this. I think that the Manjaro community wanted to boost them up so much that they've written a script that pings it. Because the way, I think they're talking about on DistroWatch, because it's so high. I mean, Linux Mint was in the high position for like ever. And then Manjaro just like took the lead. I literally think because if every Manjaro person wrote a simple script, basically the DistroWatch ranking is how many people search for that OS per day per IP. And if everybody just writes and runs a script that just goes and pings DistroWatch for Manjaro, it shoots it up. That's my conspiracy theory.
I tried it. It wasn't for me, and I'll just leave it at that. I mean, it was a full install. I know people say, well, Toss, you really can't review without a full install. I agree. You know, it still didn't work. And
I've ran Manjaro twice, and I have had no problems on it either time. So I like Manjaro. I am just perpetually sick of Deepin. So Deepin, sorry, you got to go.
Manjaro uses bots on DistroWatch, Kenny? I don't know.
That's my theory is. I think that's probably the case.
One last rock song, please. One last rock song?
Nasha, if you're looking at between Manjaro Deepin or Manjaro Budgie, I personally think Budgie is the better desktop environment. It feels more complete and more total.
Okay.
And I am pretty much caught up on comments.
Okay.
Oh, I have a kitty over here.
All right, let's finish up with the kitty.
Kitty. Come on, buddy. I promised you a treat today. Come on. Whoa. Oh, there you are. You cut out for a second. All right. There's one for Tassa's stream too. All right. Kitty cam. I can't hear you anymore, Tassa. Is that your?
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, you are.
I'm just watching you do
just
your
on
kitty.
mute. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just watching you. Yeah.
Go on, buddy. Go on. Go on. He's got this face thing. He sticks his face in the bag these days instead of his paw.
Someone on Facebook posted this. I thought it was going to be a vicious cat fight, but all I heard for literally 5 minutes, but no fighting. It was like taunting. Who's going to taunt? I'll taunt. And I was just expecting whack, the claws in the eye. But no fighting. It was the most cutest non-match I ever saw. You know. Anyway. The cat was on vacation. Yeah, it was a vacation underneath the table. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was in first mate's bunk. We call it first mate's bunk because
okay.
I actually, since I moved into this place here, I actually keep my office door open, which I used to close out the office door and keep the cats out of it.
Okay.
Now I don't care as much, but the cat now snags my chair a lot. And so we've simply taken to calling him Captain Kitty Cat, and the other one we call Claymore because she likes laying on the stairs.
Okay.
So we had that going on. Yeah. That was good, Kitty? That was good? Yeah. I gave him steak today, but he wasn't interested in it.
Wow. Oh, when I had cats in Florida, man, catnip or tuna fish, look out. No sharing. This was all theirs, you know. Anyway. Yeah, no music tonight, Daniel. I usually have the background music when I don't do Hangouts. I'll just plug it in OBS. I'll have either Stephanie's music or somebody else. So no music tonight, yeah. Cat scratch. I've heard of cat scratch fever, D. Thomas, yeah.
Yeah, my mother had it once, actually.
So do you actually catch a fever, literally, or is it just a name?
No, it actually is quite painful and quite debilitating.
Really?
Yeah, it basically it kind of creeps up and it'll get you under your armpits and stuff. Give like these horrible lumps and really painful stuff. Yeah.
Thank God I never had that problem.
Yeah, the cats can transmit it if they have if they get like fleas transmit it. Is one of the things that fleas can do.
Okay.
So that's why I had to make sure that the kitties were well treated when they had fleas. So
yeah, we had our cats once a year and all that, shots and everything. Yeah, on the right leg. Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had pretty good luck with pets.
That was a couple decades ago. So she's well recovered. You know.
Very good. White Snake, no music. We know sing, man. We know sing here. If Stephanie was with us, she could sing. But maybe we'll get Stephanie back on a live stream here for the holidays. I know you want her back, so.
Yeah.
She's got the voice. Me and Tom do not.
Hey, speak for yourself, man. Bye.
I'll be back singing. We can do Schwartz and I'll be back. Right. He's back next year in Terminator 6. Yeah.
By the way, we did have it wrong. It's not 90mm Uzi. It's Uzi. 90mm.
Uzi.
Yeah, that's actually a line from Terminator Part 1, which I acquired recently. I love Goodwill. I go to Goodwill and pick up DVDs for $1 or $2, you know. And I got Terminator Part 1 to match my 2. I think after Terminator 2, I think they should have just ended the series after 3 and beyond.
I didn't like Salvation. I didn't like that.
Was that 3?
No, I don't know. That was after...
That was Rise of the Machines.
Rise was okay. I could deal with Rise. It was the one after that. It wasn't there. I didn't like it. The last one, Genesis, I didn't feel it. The next one might be better. I think James Cameron's back doing it. He did the original. It might be good. I don't. They actually wanted Arnold for the new Predator movie that came out last month. They wanted him in like a small role, and he said no. That may have saved the movie. They redid the third act, and I got to tell you, I saw the movie. I had a great time. I laughed my butt off. I don't know if it was meant to be a comedy intentionally. It has funny moments, but it's a comedy. Maybe that's why it flopped. But I enjoyed myself. It was a hoot to laugh at it. You know.
The first one, of course, is a classic. I like the second one. Most people definitely.
It was
like
a good sequel. I mean, it worked. Yeah.
I did like the second one better.
Yeah.
But then you got the third one, which was just called Predators. Oh, that was the lamest crap I'd ever seen. That was nothing more.
I enjoy
than
Predators
just,
more. I think. Yeah.
Really,
yeah,
I
think so.
I looked at it as just like, let's cash in on the Predator buzz.
They haven't repeated the magic of the first one. See, the first was with Hollywood, because I studied screenwriting when I was in college. The first one had a good premise. What if the hunters become the hunted? And they had a great cast, of course, Arnold. And the first one, we didn't know what the predator. It was a total shock and surprise. It's not a shock anymore. But the first one worked because of the what if technique of writing. After that, it's tough, you know. But The Predator came out. I enjoyed it. I'm sorry it kind of flopped. Maybe it won't flop once it's released worldwide. But there's a few scenes in it. I don't think anybody's going to watch it, right? Here's a spoiler. There's a Halloween scene in the movie, which is well written. There's this kid in the movie. He finds this big predator mask, and it's Halloween. And it's a weapon. It shoots missiles and stuff. He doesn't know that. So he's walking in the street, Halloweening. He knocks on the door. And this mean adult says, "Get away, kid! I'll kick your bum." So the kid walks away, and the guy on the second floor throws a rock at the kid, really mean, and it hits the predator hat, mask. All of a sudden, a missile comes out and shoots and blows up the guy at his house because the mask thought it was an attack. And that was just because I think of myself as a kid at Halloween in Brooklyn. And that would have been a cool mask.
Yeah.
But that just hit me. It's kind of cruel, but I just laughed my butt off. I didn't expect. It has its moments, But that was just so funny. See that mean adult being blown up to pieces, not being nice to a kid. Anyway, that's pretty much the movie in a nutshell. Just odds and ends. So, Linux the movie. Put the tux down.
How about put the tux where the bucks were?
Anyway. All right. Well, that's it for tonight. Thank everybody for joining in for this Life of Linux with Switch to Linux and myself, Total OS today. Life of Linux 15. I don't know when we'll do the next one. What should the topic be for the next one? And maybe we'll come up with something.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm not.
We'll
think about it right now. Although we could do backup.
We could do a holiday special because next month is Thanksgiving. I don't know.
Yeah, it is entering the holiday season.
Or the year in review for Linux. I don't know. Ooh. Maybe do that one. We'll see.
Maybe we should save that for December.
Okay. All right.
That for December.
We'll
I think
see.
Maybe next week. Maybe next week we'll go back to backup.
Okay. All right.
Backup to the future. Let's do backup to the future.
Backup to the future. Oh.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. Check out the links below. Well, you're dual streaming, but all the links below for Switch to Linux website if you're watching this stream, and I have support links below. So, yeah, I know you guys want me to do a regular schedule. I need your help. I can't do it alone. I have a separate job outside the house. But thank you for all of you who stuck around 8.5 years. Wow, thank you. And again, if you haven't subscribed to Switch to Linux, what are you freaking waiting for? Go ahead, do it.
There you go. Yeah, and my link, check the description if you're watching us on my end. The Toss's link is in my feed down below, so check his channel out.
Yeah, if you have any comments or questions for future topics, let us know. I know, Switch, you do private chats for your Patreon supporters and all that.
Yeah, I started doing that. Usually it's been Thursdays, although this Thursday, like I said, I probably won't do one. I'm not sure what this Thursday is going to look like. If I do videos, it's going to be late.
All right. I will have an email sent out for my supporters. It'll be the third private one, I think, maybe this Friday night, I think. I don't want to go solo for that topic. Can technology prevent drug overdoses? We'll talk about that. But I need people on that. That's too important topic to go solo with. So, but I'll send out the emails. Hopefully we'll get at least 3 or 4 people to join for that private stream. Good night, Joe Johnson, Steve, Heather, everybody. Take care, and we'll catch you on the next one, okay?
Yep. All right. We will catch you guys later. Have yourself a good one.